Image Radio is on the air. Golden Image.
Oh, I finally got to grab this game.
Rock on.
Oh! Wow. No, 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 no.
Hello, Golden Image Podcast listeners. It is I, Golden J, hanging out today with Chuck Josey. What's up, buddy?
Happy to be here.
We are doing something a little bit different with, I think I finally named it. I think the first few ones I didn't name, but we've named this the Golden Odyssey Sessions. Interesting people doing interesting things. And Chuck is my first in-studio recording. We've done everything else via Zoom or Riverside. But Chuck's like, I'm coming to the studio.
Heck yeah.
So happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
We've been touring the studio. He's got to trip over all the boxes and guitar cases and everything that's sprawled out everywhere in here. But we did his little studio tour, so
It's pretty interesting.
there's a lot
A lot going on. Yep.
Well, Chuck, I'm so glad you're here. Can you give our listeners a little synopsis of what you do?
Let's see. What do I do?
What do you do?
I am married, and I have 3 kids. So, I do a lot of that. I work at the hospital. I head up the finances at the hospital.
He's the big man of the finance
Spend
department.
a lot of time doing that.
I thought you were going to say spend a lot of money.
Spend a lot of the hospital's money, I suppose. Let's see, what else? I really enjoy hiking and backpacking. When I'm not, I don't do it very much, but when I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Enjoy fishing, have a fishing kayak. I enjoy exercising, I suppose, that sort of thing.
Does anybody really enjoy exercising?
Well, my motivation for exercising is to better enjoy backpacking.
And that sounds like a very good...
Because otherwise, it's kind of painful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So, Chuck is actually the CFO for our local hospital, and he does an amazing job. He's always... he really is always working. You ever see Troy Polamalu, you know that they based it on Chuck and never not working. But I've known Chuck for a while now, and we've actually done some really cool things together, with Sweetwater and doing seminars and stuff like that we've went to. We went and seen Winger, and we went and seen Michael Sweet. Mm-hmm. Always have fun just going and hanging out with Chuck and doing those things.
Do you remember when we saw the Winger and they rocked?
They did.
And we were in the front row, and everyone in the front row was sitting, and we got done and turned around, and everyone must have been standing the whole time.
Oh, the whole entire time, yeah. But here's what I remember about Winger. Kip Winger was very focused on the very hot girl sitting next to me. So he kept looking over, and I'm like, you looking at me? You talking to me? What's up, brother? Yeah, you're killing it. And he's like, no, just not you.
Move out of the way.
Just can you, sir, can you just get out of the front row? Yeah, I do believe they even mentioned that. It was like when they finished up and we all gave him a standing ovation, and like you said, we turned around and looked. He's like, oh, look, the front row finally stood. I'm like, man, I was so enjoying the show that I didn't have to stand up. We had really good seats. So.
Yeah.
Michael Sweet was also amazing. That guy, besides being musically talented, a singer and guitar player, songwriter, man, what a great speaker. I mean, he controlled the room and did a great job. So if you ever get a chance to go see Michael Sweet, we suggested. It was so much fun. But as I get to know Chuck, let's back into your past a little bit. Obviously, CFO, finance, accounting was kind of where you were at in college, but you didn't come into college.
I didn't. I chose Bowling Green State University for their music program.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that's what I wanted to do.
And you went in as a piano player, correct?
Yeah, as when you go to Bowling Green State University as a freshman in the College of Music, your major has to be your instrument.
Right on.
And then my plan was, I think when you're a junior, you can switch to something that I considered more interesting. And I remember they had a composition and theory major that I thought sounded good. They also were the only college that I visited that had what they called an electronic studio or something like that. Basically a room full of synthesizers and computers.
Right on.
And so that was, I graduated from high school in '89. So every other college that I visited just had a classical music program. So that's why I picked it. And when I got there, I realized I wasn't any better at music than anyone else that was in the program, and was afraid I wouldn't make a living at it. And thought if I had the opportunity to go to college, maybe I should do something more career-oriented. And chose accounting completely arbitrarily because it sounded like a career.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Knew nothing about it.
It wasn't because you kind of liked math in high school.
No, quite the opposite. No, I didn't apply myself to math in high school, so I, got B's and C's and never really worked hard at academics. And then when there's a fear of failure in college, I actually applied myself and did pretty good. And I had a job before I graduated with one of the big accounting firms.
Really?
Yep, Ernst & Young, and worked there for 7 years, specialized in healthcare, and then worked at hospitals ever since.
Nice. So where have you, you kind of bounced around just a very little bit, though. I mean.
Well, up until I moved here, we lived in Northeast Ohio. So I grew up in Akron. The home we lived most recently was closer to Canton. And but I worked in Cleveland, worked in Akron, Canton, Cleveland, all three. And so worked at a handful of different health systems in the greater Cleveland area before moving here.
So you basically, you come from basically your hometown and come to little old Warsaw.
Yeah, moved here specifically for the CFO job. So it's been 8 years. So
can you believe it's been that long?
I know. Time flies.
Let me tell you a secret, listeners. When I met Chuck the first time, I had an agenda of questions, and I've never told him this. I don't think I've ever told you this. Maybe I have. At the time when we were kind of going through some CEOs and now you were the I want to say the third CFO that I have been through there. You can kind of tell where the person lies by what they're going to do in the town, and whether they're renting or whether they're just have an apartment or something like that. And I do believe that one of the first things that you said, I never even got a chance to ask you this, was what are your plans for your, as far as where you're living and stuff like that? Because you actually said that you and your family were buying a house.
Yeah, we bought a house.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's here. This guy's here to stay. He's not laddering it, which I've seen, with a lot of different things over the years, is, some of these guys just rent an apartment and stay for a year and then move on. And that's why I think I liked you so much right from the very beginning, is because I felt like you were kind of coming in and being all in with us. You were one of us. It wasn't necessarily a corporate thing. Not saying he's not a corporate. He's not loyal to the corporate or anything. I'm not saying bad things about that, but it just makes you feel like you're going to put roots here with us, and you're going to be with us for a nice amount of time. So, and you have been 8 years, man. That's a long time.
Yeah.
you're almost to the 30 years that I. Almost to the 30 years I've been there.
Fast. Just give it time. It'll be 30 before we know it.
Oh my goodness! If I'm there another 30 years, then I missed my retirement point. But yeah, that's. I don't know if I ever told you that. That was one of the things that I was looking for when we first met in our meeting, was whether or not. Whether you were going to rent or buy. And that sounds stupid, but it makes me feel more comfortable that you were going to be here with us and so on and so forth. But
it was so painful to move, just physically move our house. We didn't want to do it again anytime soon. So I think that was the attitude when we moved.
Well, how old are your kids now?
Caden is 18, Kendall's 15, and Caleb is 13, so 13, 15, 18.
So they were, 10 and lower.
Was 10 when we moved.
So that was, how did they take the move? Because, I mean, he had to have been pretty established with a friend group at that point. I mean, how was it really rough for him?
Yeah, it was probably rough. We actually homeschool, so he wasn't ingrained in a school per se, but yeah, he had friends. They all had friends that they left and had to start over.
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things about moving, and especially in that situation, coming to a town that you don't know and happen to kind of restart.
Yeah.
And it's tough on the kids, but I've always found that kids are very adaptable, and they can.
Yeah, they're pretty resilient, and people here are pretty welcoming. So.
If you could just not deal with them on the roads, most people are really nice.
Right.
I ran to a few of those people at Meyer this evening when I was there. Let me tell you, just random conversations with people that you don't know, but it's like the weather starts getting a little bit warmer and people are just starting to come out of their shell, just being happy to be back out there, which is interesting, but. So, moving into the big town of Warsaw, got the accounting and the time spent, in the other hospitals and so on and so forth. Obviously, me and Chuck get along really good because of our musical love. So, Chuck is actually a pretty great piano player, keyboard player. I think he does a great job. So much that I wanted, and I tried so hard to get it put together, but it all fell to pieces. I wanted to write a song and record it in the Ball State studio, and I was going to have you come down and play piano with me, but it just never, I only had a stretch of time. It was really short, because that's where Gunnar went to college, was at Ball State, so he had access to all the studios and stuff like that, and I was like, man, this would be too cool. Get Chuck down there, we'll have a good old time. But it never happened. But so yeah, Chuck is an amazing piano player. Take us back a little bit farther. What got you into playing the piano? Was that
my parents let me have lessons, and I think I showed some talent, so I stuck with it. And there was a point where I probably would have preferred to quit. Because, when you're a kid and you're practicing.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone else is playing outside.
Yeah.
It's a pain to practice, and it's hard. It's hard to learn and push yourself. And it's kind of funny. They would use practicing the piano as punishment for me.
Really?
Like, I can't remember what I would have been punished for, but don't talk back to me. Go practice the piano. That's what. And
he's not going to tell us what he did.
I don't know. I don't think I did that.
At.
Things that were that bad, but I got my share of spankings and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we called them whippings back in the day.
Oh yeah. Did you ever have to pick your own switch off the tree? I did.
Belt. I got the belt.
The belt. You have fond memories of that belt coming out of the belt loops. That whoop.
So I decided I was going to show my parents. I'm going to start liking practicing the piano. Force myself to like it, just to spite them.
Right.
So that they couldn't punish me with it anymore. And so obviously that made me better because I practiced more and
right.
You know, I'm sure you're the same way. As you get better, you can play music you like, and then that's when it becomes fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You start playing the songs that you want to play, and not, Mary Had a Little Lamb or Chopsticks or something like that. But yeah, and then for me, once I got it, then that made me want to go back and do more of it and get better at it. So
my parents, or one of my relatives anyway, kept me pretty well stocked with instruments. I had a DX7. I had a multi-track tape recorder, so it had 8 tracks, so you could record one and then rewind and record another one. I had a drum machine. So I would write my own songs and record them, and I still have a tape with that sort of thing on it. I had a friend in high school. We wrote some songs together and recorded them, and he generally did the vocals. I did everything else.
Right on. So did you ever actually have a band with a drummer, guitar player, and all that stuff?
Spin-offs from churches that I went to.
Right on.
That's about it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But you know what? Bands are so time-consuming, and I've just never really felt like I've had time for one.
Well, I mean, if you're enjoying what you're doing, and let me tell you, bands are great, but man, they're just a pain in the butt too. I mean, it's just, they are time-consuming. There's always a lot of drama that goes along with them. Whether it be a frustration or whatever. But, I know guys that have dealt with that for years and love it and still love it. But at the same time, I mean, it can be a lot. So I can totally understand that. If you're just happy with just doing your thing, because your thing is your thing and you get it exactly how you want it and you don't have to worry about anything else. So very interesting. Very interesting. I love that, because I didn't realize you had recorded some of your own stuff.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
You got to have a tape player to listen to it.
We just talked about that a little bit ago. Chuck keeps a boombox so he can still listen to his old cassettes.
Yep.
Are you doing vinyl these days?
No.
No?
No. I had a record player when I was a teenager, and the kind where you could stack them. Mm-hmm. And then when one finished, it would
come out and the other one would drop down.
We thought that was the coolest thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember that. We used to do it with 45s. You could do it with the big, what are the 72s or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But we used to do it with the 45s and then stack it up. So you'd drop Kiss, you'd drop ABBA, you'd drop whatever else was in that stack that my mom had. She had a nice little collection of 45s. I kind of miss those days.
One thing that's interesting is my parents thought rock music was a sin.
Yeah.
So I was considered pretty rebellious when I started listening.
Did you grow up in a pretty religious household?
Yeah, very. Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you bring that into your family now? Are you a highly religious family now?
Well, we all are Christians and we believe in God, but we're not nearly as focused on everything being a sin as when I grew up.
Right.
And it seemed to be focused on all the things you couldn't do.
Yeah, it was always about the negative, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm not gonna lie. That's I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it many times. It's like we're so hyper focused on the bad stuff, but we kind of miss out on the good stuff. And
yeah.
Very cool. All right, so we've talked about your growing up. We've talked about you going to college. It's funny. It's funny because when I asked Chuck, I said, "Would you like to do this? Would you like to do one of these?" Chuck goes, "I don't know that what I do is very interesting." And I'm like, "I don't need to know what you do on a daily basis. I want to talk about you and let's just kind of go over a little bit what you've done in the last year." And you've taken a couple really amazing trips.
Yeah, I had a good year of travel last year. Yeah, so that was pretty exciting. When you mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, I can talk about that for an hour.
I knew you could.
Yeah, so I don't remember what was first. My youngest son and I went to Spain for a week, and that was awesome. We know people that live there as missionaries, so we basically stayed with them the whole time. They showed us around. They live in the northeastern part of Spain, so we were within an hour's drive of the France border. So we went into France one day. It's right on the ocean, so it's on the northern coast of Spain, and it was really pretty. There's mountains. The mountains come all the way down pretty much to the ocean, and then the little town they lived in was right there.
Really?
Yeah, and everything's 2,000 years old, and
yeah,
and everyone spoke the different language. I took a couple months beforehand and tried to learn enough to be dangerous about their language.
Right.
They spoke Spanish, and then they also spoke Basque. So Basque is kind of like a I don't know, a race, so to speak.
Right.
They don't have their own country, but it's
definitely
a race of people that live in that area, and so they have their own language, they have their own heritage. So super interesting, a lot of history. Surfing is a big deal there. So Johnny was the name of the guy I stayed with. He took us surfing one day.
Really?
And we tried awful hard to surf, at least. Yeah.
Is that the first time you ever surfed?
Yeah. It was harder I expected it to be hard, but I expected to be able to do it.
Right.
I couldn't stand up on the board. It seemed like we practiced standing up on the board in his kitchen, and I could pop right up onto the board in the kitchen, but when I tried to pop up actually in the water, it seemed like the surfboard just
kind of sank.
Down. Yeah, sank. So, but even like laying on it like a boogie board, I mean, you go a lot further than you do at Myrtle Beach on a boogie board. So
right. I don't know, man. Surfing is one of those things. When I was younger, I always wanted to go and try. It always looked like a lot of fun.
It was fun to try, yeah.
But it definitely looks like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't have a fear of water, but you catch some of those movies where people get caught in that undertow of the wave and kind of get tossed around a little bit, and they kind of freak me out just a small bit. But
yeah, I never felt unsafe in that regard. I don't think we were ever in water that was that deep. Oh, and the other thing is we were wearing wetsuits that made you float.
Oh, wow.
So even when you fell in, your wetsuit
brought you back up.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I gotta get one of those for everyday life.
Right. But their culture is so different. They don't work nearly as hard as we do. And
really?
It's very laid back. They take, we talk about people taking siestas. Yeah, they take breaks, hours long breaks in the middle of the day. It's almost like everyone gets off work to go pick their kids up from school. And then they go back for a little bit. So it was just different, I guess. And they didn't eat dinner till like literally 10 o'clock at night. So we showed up at a restaurant one night it was like 8 o'clock, and we were the only people there. We were terribly early. And everyone else kind of came around 10.
I'm actually trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
So what would be their quote unquote go to bed time then?
Well, right after dinner.
So they would eat and then just kind of wash up and head to bed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, gotta ask a stupid question. Were people larger? I mean, were they more obese?
No, the opposite.
Interesting, because normally the whole theory behind that is that you don't want to eat that late because of that food in your metabolism don't burn off as many of the calories before you actually go to bed.
They were probably eating healthier foods than we did.
They weren't eating McDonald's at 11 o'clock at night?
No.
Been there, done that. Just saying.
There was a really cool restaurant we went to the one night. It was I don't remember the name of it, but it was basically a hard apple cider distillery.
Oh, right.
So these barrels turned on their side, 6 feet in diameter, lined the walls. It was served family style, so everyone gets the same thing. They bring it to your table, put it in the middle of your table, and You pig out like one course after the other.
Right.
But someone from the restaurant staff would come out and turn the tap, and the cider would come out like someone peeing, basically, and people would get in a line with their cups. And the first person in the line would fill up their cup, and the next person in line would have their cup right there.
Right underneath it.
Yep. And you could drink as much as you wanted. So by the time we left, people were pretty toasted.
Oh, I bet. Did you have some?
I did. It was good.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it sounds like it'd be amazing, fresh from the barrel.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
No, it was good. Yeah, they were having a good time. I remember when we left, there was another room with there was a guy playing a fiddle probably, and another guy playing accordion, and people were dancing, and they were having a good time.
So what are we looking at as far as economy at that point? I mean, they don't sound like a rich. I don't even know how to put that. I'm not trying to be insensitive or anything, but
the people as far as I could tell, or at least the people we knew, lived in an apartment. Seemed like most people lived in apartments. Most people seemed to live comfortably, but certainly not extravagantly.
Right.
Most people seemed to have a car. And you parked your car wherever you could find a spot. So half the time it was, half mile away on another street.
Oh, really?
Because it was kind of in a city type area.
Right.
It's a very small city, but city nonetheless.
I'm thinking like a San Francisco type thing where it's just the streets are kind of tight. And
yeah, they're tight, right.
If you get a spot next to your apartment, it's a good day.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit of that. No, they seemed happy. I mean, it's kind of interesting. You compare and contrast cultures, and Americans, we feel like we're the land of opportunity. If you work hard, you can do what you want, get what you want. And while that's true, what's the word? It's a grind.
It is.
It can be a grind, at least.
I think you were lucky enough to go and see that, and to I don't know if you thought about it. Maybe you didn't think about it, but when you tell that story, and when I think about, it's just simpler. Mm-hmm. It's a simpler life.
Yeah, simpler.
It's not. We got to go to work. We got to make the money. We got to get this done. We got to, the grind is a fine word for that.
Yeah. I
think here we're just constantly rolling, trying to, I don't know, get I can't think of what I want to say exactly. Just, we're reaching for the American dream. Yeah. I think we all are at some point. Whereas it just sounds like where you're at is where you was, we're just here enjoying life and
way more relaxed.
Yeah, just not bothered by the burdens of money and drama and all that other stuff. I mean, that's why if I was there, I'd be like, that's why I came here. Look, I got mountains on one side, ocean on the other. Why would I want anything else than that? So insane. What is what are some of the jobs that are around in that area? Did you have any?
Most of the people that I remember meeting were shop owners. In all seriousness, I mean they ran some small business in the town.
Really?
Yeah. So the people I stayed with ran a coffee shop and an English school, for example. And I'm trying to remember some of the other people that I met. I met another guy that ran another coffee shop in another city. So, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank with everyone else, but yeah, I don't remember any like large businesses.
Right.
I think everyone just had a niche job at one of the local shops or stores or
so if you needed
restaurants.
You needed something tailored, you go to the tailor.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty great and laid back. And did they have internet there?
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Good, because
I think I had internet the whole time I was there.
I'm thinking this might be my next place to go.
Why not? Why not?
I could do my podcast from this little town in Spain. This sounds pretty amazing. You think they would accept me? Or would I be too bullyish?
You'd have to learn the language. Zerots was the town that I was in specifically. So.
Zerots.
Zerots with a Z.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely gonna have to look that up.
And
so I can see it.
when we went to France, it was really interesting to me that the French had a specific culture. They're really quiet. They think it's rude to speak. Like if you and I are speaking, we have to speak just loud enough to hear each other.
Right.
If we speak any louder than that, that's considered rude. So it was really laid back and seemed very quiet there. Everyone having their own little. So we went to. I remember most of the places we went to were, everything was an old town. We went to a town that had a castle, which was super cool. What was the name? I'm probably going to draw a blank on the name of the town we went to. A little bit touristy, but to be honest, that's where their businesses were.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a coffee shop, I mean,
yeah.
you would think you'd have it in
And
a
that,
more touristy
honestly,
town.
some of the best coffee I've had was there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they take it very seriously.
I would imagine they probably do,
Yeah.
because they're not just having bags shipped in from wherever. They're probably, actually going out to the local market to bring it. Maybe, yeah.
They had it imported.
Right on.
Yeah, they had it imported, and it. But I think they took more pride in how they prepared it.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That sounds like a pretty amazing little town.
It was a good trip.
So, while you were there, you guys did go hiking. Is that the?
Yeah, there's there's actually a trail that goes from one end of Spain to the other.
You didn't
I
take
think it's
the whole
called the
trail,
Camino.
right?
I mean, there's YouTubers in the United States go over there and do
Right.
it and film it, and so I knew about it. I'm pretty sure it's just called the Camino, El Camino, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people do it as a pilgrimage because apparently St. James took this route,
Okay.
and so people do it in honor of St. James or whatever. And it goes right through the town we were in. So we did. We hiked one day from one town up over some mountains to another one. Another interesting thing that was there, and I'll never remember the guy's name, but the first captain to circumvent the globe was from that little town that
Really?
we hiked to. And there's a little statue honoring him. If you Google first man to circumnavigate the globe, his name will come up.
Right on.
And Americans don't hear about him.
No.
We hear about Magellan and Columbus.
Right.
And
Yeah, something that's more directed towards us.
For whatever reason,
Yeah.
directed towards us, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's like he wasn't from here. He didn't settle here. He just went around us. Yeah. Was that? Did he go before Columbus, or was it?
Yeah, he would have been before Columbus for sure. And he took a crew of guys all the way around. And when you read his story, I'm pretty sure he starts out with 3 ships and probably dozens of guys. And there are only something like 3 guys, him and 2 other guys, that actually completed the trip.
In one ship, I'm sure.
In one ship, right.
Right. That sounds pretty.
Cathedrals. Every town had its own cathedral that was built in the Middle Ages.
Right.
Those are beautiful, and they're decorated.
And they're
old paintings. Yeah, maintained. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Tip your hat to those guys over there for taking care of your heritage and your town and just being laid back and chill, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a good trip. I'd recommend it.
I'm telling you.
This was just a random town, so I imagine a lot of places in Europe are like that.
Right. So you did some hiking over there, and then you guys were just there for a week?
Yeah. We probably spent more time traveling back and forth than we did actually there.
What is a plane flight over there?
Let's see. We flew overnight from Chicago to Germany and Munich, one of those cities, and then had a short flight from Munich to Bilbao in Spain. And then they picked us up at the Bilbao airport, and it wasn't far from there.
Nice.
But I mean, it was the better part. It seemed like the better part of 2 days flying.
being from healthcare, what was the protocol at that point? Where was it a little more laid back than what it had obviously was during the major part of the pandemic?
You had to wear masks in the airports, and you needed a negative COVID test within 72 hours or something crazy like that. So
Right on.
actually, I had to get a COVID test in Spain, and so went to a little clinic there in the town, and this lady put the thing all the way back to my brain. I literally passed out.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know how long it was. I had like a full-length dream.
I dreamt there was something sticking to my nose.
I don't know. It was pretty intense. I've never passed out before.
Why so deep? Just untrained, or?
It seemed like when the COVID tests first came out, they went deep.
Yeah.
And then now if you get one, it's just around the rim of your nose. So
I've had one that didn't touch my brain, but it was up there. It didn't bother me because I've stuck my finger farther up there than she stuck that Q-tip. But yeah, I think you're right. When some of the first ones when they came out, they were really going up in there after it.
yeah.
So why did you end up having to have a COVID test while you were there?
Because you had to have one within something like 72 hours.
Okay, by the time you got back on the
Yeah.
plane to come home. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Right on. It's yeah.
So the logistics of that were kind of tough to work out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. There was, I think it was. I went to a wedding, and they wanted, if you weren't vaccinated, they wanted a COVID test. And also, the other one was when I went to Dallas. That was it. In order to get into the venue, you had to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours or
Wow.
something like that. Fortunately for me, we were at that point where the hospital was testing for the people who didn't have
Okay.
tests. So I worked it out so that my COVID test I was getting
Right. Was
with the
within-
hospital was within that 72 hours of me driving to Dallas in that venue.
Yeah.
But of course, by the time you get there, they had laxed on that anyway. So I had it in my pocket. I was prepared. My brain was burning through while you were talking about that. I was like, why did I have that problem? So you did Spain with your
Yeah.
youngest son.
Yeah.
And but that's not it. You've actually did some other traveling last year.
No, the other trip that came to mind was the one that John and I did backpacking in California in August. So we did what's called the Ray Lakes Loop.
Uh-huh.
And so we started in Kings Canyon National Park. And it ends up being a 42-mile loop
Oh wow.
up and through the Sierra Nevada mountains. And so it was for us, we did it over 4 days. It was 2 days of solid uphill hiking, and it about killed us. We both were vowing never to do it again. And then the next 2 days were all downhill and made it worth it.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait to do it again by the time it was over.
Right
so.
on. Yeah, that's kind of, Bobby wants to kind of do more of that this year. We did some last year, just some of the local stuff, just going out. And yeah, Golden J is definitely not in shape to go hiking, because by the time we did it, I think we hiked in one day like 10 miles or something like that. And yeah, I was definitely upset with anything that was uphill.
I got into backpacking because there were places I couldn't go and be back in one day. So
Right.
you have to be able to carry everything with you, spend the night, and keep going.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. What do you put in that backpack?
Oh, the stuff you need. Let's see. Well, there's a tent, obviously, sleeping bag. I use a blow-up air mattress. You got to have your food, your water. You got to have everything you need to stay warm. Rain jacket and stuff if there's a chance of inclement weather.
Right.
Some toilet paper, a trowel.
Okay, the trowel is for...
I have what I call a number 2 bag. So you have to, when you're backpacking, there's a concept about leaving no trace.
Right.
So you have to pack out everything you took in. Most places I've been, you don't have to actually pack out your poop. You dig a 6-inch hole, poop in it. You do have to pack out your toilet paper. So there are some places I haven't been where it's just not feasible to dig a 6-inch hole, and you end up
bagging it.
Yeah, bagging it. So I don't know how I just went there. But
hey, in this room, in this studio, it's always about poop at some point.
Hygiene essentials, toothbrush, a minimal amount of toothpaste.
Now, let me ask you this stupidly. If you're going to pack out your toilet paper, does it make more sense to take a wipe? Like they make those flushable wipes. Would that be more of something that you'd want to take along? That
I do, but I have both at the end of the day. I use toilet paper just like I would at home, and then I have a wipe.
I would think the toilet paper would be more of a biodegradable thing that you can leave out there in the hole with, if you're going to bury it, like a
can't do
kitten.
That. It would just, the whole place would just be littered with toilet paper.
Right on.
Yeah. So no one would appreciate that.
Nobody.
I mean, unfortunately, some people do it, but
oh yeah. I mean,
they're not supposed to.
In the hikers code, you're not supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So now, is your tent? Is you do a single person tent, or is this?
If you buy a single person tent, it's literally big enough for you. If you buy a 2-person tent, it's big enough for one person essentially, and some of your gear.
Okay.
So I have a 2-person tent, and I use it when I'm by myself, and I've done a couple trips with Caleb, my youngest son, and it's if you're hiking with a family member, you can get by with a 2-person tent, but otherwise it's super tight. So however many people you're hiking with, add one, and that's the size tent you
the reason I ask is you said you went with John.
We had separate tents, to be clear.
That's what I was going to ask, if he had to carry his own tent.
He carried his own tent. Yeah, he carried his own tent, his own everything.
Right on.
It wasn't that kind of a trip.
It wasn't that kind of a trip. No. Well, I'm just thinking, I wasn't trying to be weird or anything, but I'm thinking, one tent, then the other person could carry something else that you needed to take along.
Yeah, if you went with your wife, one person could carry the tent. One person could carry something else. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because, obviously that stuff's going to diminish as you go along. Your food supply, your water supply. What do you... that just came out of nowhere. How much water do you take with you on a 4-day hike?
No, you carry just as much as you need, and then you bring a water filter.
Oh.
So you can, as long as there's lakes or streams, you can
just filter
replenish it and
right
filter it. Yeah.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is me not being much of a hiker.
There was one time where John and I got low on water, and we were on this ridge, and we were coming back the way we came. And this wasn't the trip we took last year. This was the year before. And so we were coming back the way we came. We knew that there was only one water source, and it was a glorified mud puddle. So we essentially filtered the water out of this glorified mud puddle. Yeah. And anyway,
I just can. I can only think of in The Water Boy when they go into Harry Winkler's, and he's like, "I give him this water." It's like flies and moss coming out of it. That's all I can think of.
By the time you filter it, it wasn't bad. I think John thought that was a super fun adventure. I was kind of irritated because I was tired. And I knew we still had a long way to go. I think John was numb at that point, so he didn't care. And I was upset at how long it took to draw water out of this mud puddle and filter it. It seems like we were there for the better part of an hour.
Right.
And normally stopping and filtering water, replenishing your water bottles takes like 15 minutes. So, but because it was so dirty, it clogged my filter. I got upset at that.
How is that the only feasible water source along that area?
It was a long stretch. We went up and over Kearsarge Pass, which is 12,000 some foot pass in the Sierra Mountains, and we went up and over that, and we had a choice. We could either go down to these lakes that we see way down there, hundreds of feet down.
Right.
If we went down there, the good news is we could drink the water out of the lake. The bad news is we'd have to hike all the way back up
and use up all the water that you just.
So we opted not to do that and just stay on the ridge, knowing that it was just a long stretch where you didn't have any water.
Right on.
That's just part of it, I guess.
How much water do you carry? How much is in your bottle?
We both carry 2 1-liter water bottles.
Okay.
So is that like a half liter there?
I don't even know what
that
I
looks
got.
like a half liter.
591 milliliters.
So
1 pint, 4 ounces.
The water bottles we carry are like twice the size of that. And we have 2 of them.
2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I would blow through that water way too quick. I'm a sipper. I like to sip on water or Mountain Dew, whichever, But so, or it might be beer, it might be whiskey. You never know what I might be sipping on. Right now, it's it's smart water. So so now just recently, you actually took a trip up into did you guys do the Upper Peninsula?
Yeah, Caleb, 13-year-old. We went to the Upper Peninsula last fall. And we'd been there before, so we kind of knew. We went back to the same places we'd been, and we went on a short 2-night trip. Yep, very easy, low miles, mostly camping, but we hiked in and we camped 2 different places and had a good time. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful area.
I have never been to the Upper Peninsula, but I hear it is amazingly beautiful.
So we were in the Pictured Rocks National Park.
Okay.
So all the way up on Lake Superior. Lake Superior is beautiful.
Right. I'm trying to think. I've been up into Michigan. I've just never been that far. So.
Okay. Being raised in Ohio, it took me a couple years to realize good things happen in Michigan. So Michigan's actually a beautiful state.
It is a beautiful state.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe that you can see that the moment you cross the state line. If you live in Indiana and you're driving up, we've done it many a times. We love to go up to South Haven.
Mm-hmm.
I love South Haven.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're driving up the 31 bypass and around, and you're just littered with factories and just all kinds of stuff along that stretch, and then you see the Michigan sign, and it's just
suddenly it's forests and rolling hills.
It is the weirdest thing ever. It's just like, well, you can tell I'm in Michigan now.
What's the restaurant that everyone goes to in South Haven?
Clementines.
Have you ever reviewed Clementines?
I have not.
There you go.
I need to go back so that I can have a fresh review.
Yeah.
Actually, the last time I was there, I had it's been about 4 or 5 years ago, and I had pulled my sciatic, and just like a week before we had this trip planned for months, and like a week or two, I pulled my sciatic, and I was dying, but I was not gonna miss going to South Haven with everybody, because we went with Gunnar and Sarah and my buddy Scott and his wife Beth. And when you go to South Haven, it's it's shopping, it's touristy, and of course you got to walk down the marina and then walk out on the pier to the lighthouse, and because it's just gorgeous out there. And I would go way ahead of them because they were kind of slow and enjoying it. I would be speedy, and I'd find the next place I could sit down. and just relax it for a little, while they kind of caught up, and then they would go so far, and I would pass them and go to the next spot. But we ended up we were going back to Clementine's. That was, that was part of the agenda of being there. And we get there, and of course, it's an hour and a half wait, which is nothing unusual for that place. It is an hour and a half wait when you walk in the door. And I just looked at him and I said, I will wait here for the table. And they were like, are you sure? I said, yeah, if you need me, I'll be right here. They have benches in that little foyer there between the front door and the door to get in the restaurant. I said, if you need me, I'll be right here. I got everything I need right here, And my lovely wife looks at me and goes, I think they have a bar. I'm like, what? They have a bar? Because we've always eaten in the main side over there. So I walked up and grabbed the lady, and I was like, is the bar open? Can I get a seat? And she's like, oh, yeah, just walk in and sit down. So I walked in and sat down, and they went and shot for an hour and a half, and I sat and drank all this great beer for an hour and a half. So by the time they got there, I'd already had appetizers and a couple beers, and I love Clementine.
Clementine's is awesome. Yep.
I think I can't remember what I had up there. It was the first time I'd had it, and it was really good. But
I remember the corn chowder being super good, and then I had some sort of steak that was really good also.
We did the perch because it's a Lake Michigan perch.
Okay.
And the first time we were there, that was I had just gotten back from my first trip down to Texas with Bobby's sister, and we had gotten a lot of that culture from down there, the seafoods and that kind of stuff. And I'd come back up here, and my buddy Scott asked me, well, let's go do something. I said, I want seafood, I want something, it's good. And he did a lot of research, and he goes, the best I found is this Clementine's. And that was one of the first times I was there. And yeah, I'm definitely not disappointed. Their perch is amazing. So if you ever get back up there, you definitely got to try it. It's so good.
Yeah, sounds good.
You got to be really careful. Once again, when you eat fish, sometimes you do find some bones in there. So
yeah,
everybody be careful if you're getting it, because I have found a couple bones in my fish, but it is damn delicious. So
that just means it's fresh.
Oh, it's so good. And I think they do the onion ring tower up there too. Don't they?
I've seen that. I've never got it.
I think one of us at the table ended up getting it, and just just everybody picking onion rings off of it. But yeah, so yeah, sorry, we're getting off topic here. So speaking of fish, this is my lead in. You talked earlier, you like to fish, and you just did a fishing trip with one of our coworkers, right?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't necessarily a fishing trip as much as it was
Brett, which we work with. His family has a ranch down in Texas. Actually, has a couple of them, I guess. Several thousand acres.
Wow.
So he has a old home on one of them. We stayed there. So there were a total of 4 of us, and we punted and fished pretty much every day we were there. One day we went into the city of Fort Worth and saw the stockyards.
Did you do the stockyards?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Where they drive the cattle through the street and all those shops and restaurants right there. Yeah, we did that one day. Every other day we generally hunted in the morning, fished in the afternoon, and we hunted wild pigs, which just run rampant down there. And
really?
They're considered destructive. And so when you Google that and watch YouTube videos, you'd think you can't walk 10 feet without tripping over a wild pig. But we only saw 2 of them. We were down there for a week and only saw 2 of them.
Right.
When we were walking around with guns. So I shot one. I was considered a guest, so they made sure I got one.
You got
basically.
one. Mm-hmm. Right.
And that was the first time I've ever hunted. I love shooting guns. I don't need to kill an animal.
Right.
That pig was just sitting there minding his own business, and I needed a pig hunting experience, so I shot him, I guess. And we talked about eating some of the meat, but when push came to shove, it was too much work.
Right on.
So, I don't know, but it was a fun experience. I do like to fish, and they had ponds on their property that aren't fished very often, and they were full of bass, and yeah, they were easy to catch. It was fun. Brett went out and bought kayaks, just cheap little kayaks for us to use, but it was perfect. So, yeah, you could let the fish pull you around in the kayak. And otherwise, here at home, I have a fishing kayak, and it's a pedal drive. So you pedal it like you ride a bike. And I live on a small lake. So, I mean, that's the thing here in Warsaw is people like to get a home on a lake. And so that's when we came here, interestingly, we decided we didn't want to move twice. And it's really hard when you relocate not to, because the tendency is you need somewhere right away.
Right.
So you end up moving into an apartment, and then you eventually find a house you want to live in permanently. So you end up moving twice. We wanted to avoid that. So we came down, even before my job started, we came down one weekend and went around with a realtor, looked at 20-some houses over 2 days, and then ultimately picked one and moved into it right away, straight from the other place. And fortunately, the house we got was available, and we love it. It's on Stanton Lake, so very nice.
So you guys are right on the lake.
We're
then. Yeah.
literally on the lake, yeah.
Nice.
Yep. So no house. I never really fished before we moved here. It just wasn't on my radar.
I'm gonna say if you would have told me, pick 3 things that I would like to do, I don't know that fishing would have been one of them on the list.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. Not that it's kind of crazy, but I just never pictured you as a fisherman.
Yeah, I kind of gotten into it though.
Yeah. That's cool. I am the absolute 100% worst fisherman ever to walk the face of the earth. So I just don't do it very often. I love the relaxation of it, especially, on a boat in the middle of the night in the middle of a lake where it's just everything's nice and calm and you're just kind of enjoying life sitting out there. And
I think one of the things I like about backpacking is getting out and away from ideally everyone. I mean, the trips I've talked about are with John, and that's cool and all.
Right.
But the fewer people, the better. And I think to some extent with my kayak, I mean, it's a 1-person kayak. I'm by myself.
Right.
I value that time in small doses.
Yes. I find that I like to be away from people a lot more than as I get older than I used to be. It used to be as like you kind of had to be surrounded by people at all times, and as you get older, you kind of like that solitude a little bit more, and kind of find those spaces that you can do that in. That's for me anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you're an introvert, but I definitely am. So that's how I recharge, just being by myself.
No, I'm definitely not an introvert, but I do have moments where I want to shut the outside world out and just enjoy time, just not being involved in it. So. I know that sounds weird for me as all the things that I've done over the years, but yeah, the world is crazy, and sometimes you just got to shut the window. So, Chuck, we've kind of reached the hour here.
Wow,
we've been. Did it seem like a quick hour for you?
Fast, yeah.
I so much appreciate you coming in, and I love that you come over to the studio and we got to do this face to face. This is great. And like I said, you get to kind of look over my soon-to-be cleaned-up studio. Maybe I'll get to it eventually. I have a deck to finish, and
it's got a lot of character.
Yeah, it definitely has character. I wish I was going to show you Baby Habib. He's in a backpack somewhere, but
oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the backpack is. I was looking for it a little bit ago, and I couldn't find it. So,
I have to go home and listen to Born in a Cab with an A-Rab.
Did Steve Damon actually hook you up with that? Is that how you find it, or
No,
did
I think
tell
I
you?
Googled it. You told me about it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we have. You get a chance, go find Tiki Lounge Mayhem on
That's right
on
Tiki
YouTube,
Lounge
and
Mayhem,
you can listen to Born in a Cab. It's an amazing piece of.
There's a video that goes with it, right?
Yes, we actually shot a video with it. Yeah, along with we shot a video for pushing up daisies in the backyard and Bear Ninja Cowboy. Did we do a fourth one?
I don't think.
We did one called Food Baby, where if all the famous directors, instead of the famous lines, were hungry and they wanted to put Food Baby into it, so it'd be like Dirty Dancing would be like, nobody puts Food Baby in the corner. Or I think Back to the Future was 1.21 food babies.
Okay.
But yeah, that was our rap song. That was yeah. But anyways, you can check it out, Tiki Lounge Mayhem. But Chuck, thank you so much. This has been great. I've enjoyed this so much, and I've learned new things along the way here. So, that you actually have a number 2 bag. That's I think that's something we can all take away. And I love that. I love that there's a number 2 bag, which is a trowel, some toilet paper,
a Ziploc bag for your used toilet paper, and some wet wipes.
Now, is that a gallon size?
Yeah, the gallon size, yeah.
It folds up pretty much. Do you have to get the air out of it to pack it back in there really tight?
Yeah. But matter of fact, I think I even double bag it. Just because,
Yeah, you want to, just in case.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that gross.
No,
but
it's not really that gross. It's yours.
Yeah.
It came out of you. It's yours.
It's just toilet paper.
Yeah.
Used toilet paper, but still.
We've all gotten a little on our thumb when we wipe. Ladies and gentlemen, it's okay. All right. Well, we're going to get on out of here. But before I go, I want to say thank you for checking out Golden Odyssey Series. Interesting people doing interesting things. And don't forget, there is a whole giant empire out there, the Golden Mojo Entertainment Empire of Podcast. You can check it out. On Mondays, we have The Call Guys with Gunner and Colton. With Tuesdays, it is Golden Image Podcast, depending on which one you're getting, whether it's me and the boys reviewing where we've been or whether if I'm interested in interviewing interesting people. On Wednesday, we got the United States of Paranormal. On Thursdays, it is the Indiana Chiefs fans, and I'm sure that's coming back very, very soon at this point. They're on hiatus for the summer because there's really nothing to talk about in the football world besides a few odds and ends. And then on Fridays, you get a double shot. You get the MurdNerds with Alicia and Ashley as they talk true crime, or you can listen to A Court of Books and Booze with Skyler, Jessica, and Amanda, where they read a book and they tell you all about it and what they liked about it and what they didn't like about it. It's actually pretty interesting, especially if you read the book. But there's going to be a bunch of them that I'm going to go ahead and listen to that I haven't read books because I'm very far behind. I'm trying to keep up and it's not working. But so go check out all those podcasts under the Golden Mojo Entertainment Empire. And thank everybody for checking us out. And thank you, Chuck, for coming into the studio and hanging out with me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this has been great. All right. Until next time, later.
Golden Image Radio is on the air. Golden Image.
Oh, I finally got to craft this game.
Rock on.
Oh! Wow. No, no, no,